Hard Knocks on HBO episode 1 just happened. And in case anybody doesn't know what that is, Hard Knocks is a TV show that follows one team's NFL training camp, documentary style. It's a great show. It's really well produced. Liev Schreiber is the amazing narrator. He does a great job. He's the guy from Ray Donovan, the lead character. His voice is really different when he narrates for Hard Knocks. But I have a bunch of thoughts about episode 1. I want to share them now. My first thought is that, man, Jon Gruden, I wrote this down. I was like, Jon Gruden's just made for this moment. The show opens with all the players on a knee looking up at Jon Gruden, and he's giving them some speech. And it's just like, you got Jon Gruden's voice. The music is swelling. It's just incredible. Man, there are so many sound bites throughout the entire episode. I'm like, man, Jon Gruden mic'd up is just an incredible, great experience. My second thought is that, episode 1 had amazing music. There were a couple moments I was like, and this is always what you see with Hard Knocks and HBO. HBO pays top dollar. They do a great job in production, but there was a scene, I actually rewinded it to watch it again. So the show ended, and I was like, I got to go back and watch that again. It was so cool. It's, the black and yellow violin version, which is cut together with a montage of Antonio Brown highlights. And it's just like the coolest. It's like Antonio Brown running in slow motion, this heavy violin playing. I'm like, oh man, this is like, I could watch this every day. It just pumps me up. It's so cool. And I loved it. Another cool part of the music was this moment where John Abram and Cleveland Farrell they rode horses to Old Town Road. And I wrote down, I was like, man, Lil Nas X, Old Town Road will always just be a jam that I love. This song is like, and they mixed it different ways and it just worked so well. And it was really funny. Jonathan Abram and his beautiful English. He goes, make sure you, and what I mean is I don't think he understands editing and what you call in background music. He goes, make sure y'all play Old Town Road as the back song. And Jonathan Abram, man, is just a character. I don't know. He's either that annoying guy you hate on your team, or I don't know. I don't know. The guy has no filter. It's so funny to watch. First of all, he's hitting guys while they're in jerseys. Showing, in those moments, it's a walkthrough for the Raiders. And Jonathan Abram is hitting people a bunch when it's like, dude, you're not supposed to hit right now. This is just a mental period. Try to get in the right spot. Don't hit anybody. It's ridiculous. He's like throwing guys to the side. And I can't wait. What I hope for episode 2 is that when the pads go on, we get a shot of Jonathan Abram just getting rocked. Because I would be mad if I'm not in pads, if we're at a walkthrough and a guy's like throwing people to the ground, I'd be like, okay, can we not right now? Can we slow down? I would want revenge if I was the guy who got thrown. But again, the guy has no filter. Jonathan Abrams is so it's like he picks the most uncomfortable topic he can talk about and just goes for it. He leans all the way in. So they're at dinner with Derek Carr, and he's talking about Derek Carr's money, and he's like, he's like, you're buying dinner, I'm going to spend a bunch of your money. I'd feel weird. I'm not going to say that. And then he meets G-Eazy, and he talks about G-Eazy's race. It's like, you seem like you pick the topics that are the most controversial, right off the bat. I love how Jonathan Abrams has no concern. He just goes for it. I love the way it's funny to watch him interact on camera. Now, Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown's injured. We saw that on Hard Knocks episode 1. We also knew that from a bunch of reports I've been reading. But I have no idea what to make of this Antonio Brown injury. It just kind of stinks. I hope he heals. I've been really excited to watch Antonio Brown play for the Raiders. And if he's hurt, I don't know what to make of that. I don't. Now, it is really funny. There are moments where I don't know how to put words to Antonio Brown because there's a moment where he rides a hot air balloon into training camp. And it's like, does he realize that he's just the most stereotypical wide receiver there possibly could be? And is it intentional? Does he know that? And I don't know that he's really flaunting his money flamboyantly. I think it's like a dude who just loves his life and doesn't really care what it looks like. I don't know first of all, if anybody deserves to ride in style, it's Antonio Brown. The guy's worked incredibly hard. He's been incredibly successful. He's earned the right to do whatever the heck he wants. But it seems like he's just enjoying his money. It doesn't seem like he's flaunting it in everybody's face. It's like, I wear fur coats because When I was a kid, I wanted fur coats, and I ride cool hot air balloons because, like, when I was a kid, I was like, man, if I can be rich and ride a hot, like, it seems like a guy who's having fun spending his money more than Antonio Brown seems like a guy who's rubbing it in everybody's face. That's my kind of, this is how the energy and the vibe Antonio Brown gives off to me. The other thing is, I just had this thought watching Antonio Brown. First of all, I've followed him on social media for so long. Like, I watch all of his Instagram stories. He works so incredibly hard. Like, every day, the message he puts out is, I'm training, I'm working, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. A lot of people in the NFL, look, I'm an athlete, myself included. Like, I take days off. I go hiking. I go hang out with my girlfriend. I go to the lake. I do this. Antonio Brown, every single day, is working on something. It's like, man, that's so cool. He clearly has earned everything he's had. And I just had this thought. I wrote it down while I was watching Hard Knocks. On the field, forget the personality, forget all the off-the-field stuff. But on the field itself, Antonio Brown is so similar to me to Jerry Rice. The way that, Jerry Rice was never the biggest or the strongest. He just worked harder than everybody. And that's exactly the same vibe I've always gotten from Antonio Brown, and why I really respect Antonio Brown. Tom Brady was not the biggest or the strongest. He worked the hardest. Antonio Brown is not the biggest or the strongest wide receiver. He might have become the fastest by working hard, but he's gotten faster and developed his speed, and he clearly does a lot of speed training. Antonio Brown is the best receiver in the NFL because he works his butt off and seems to work harder than everybody else, in spite of the fact he has physical limitations that guys like Julio Jones do not. Really cool to watch. Now, one other thought I had, first of all, actually a bunch of thoughts I had. I have a lot left. Ronald Ali, the defensive tackle from Last Chance U, got cut right off the bat. And I was surprised how quickly that story arc came and went. And I just thought, good for the Raiders. Ronald Ali was a guy who never really had a lot of self-motivation on the TV show Last Chance U on Netflix. And the Raiders were like, we're not going to tolerate your BS. You're done. You're out of here. And I really like the message that it sent. Because I was wondering, like, how much are the Raiders going to play up to the cameras? And I thought maybe Ronald Ali was going to stick around for a little while. Because, like, it's a good story. We'll give something for fans to like. No, not at all. We're done. We're professional. You're not. You're done. You're out. I was like, oh, wow. I mean, too bad for Ronald Ali, but, like, I respect the Raiders for just cutting the crap and saying, no BS, we're not tolerating that. Now, this is controversial. I'm going to warn you. Controversial warning. What I'm about to say is going to make people mad. I am sorry. It's just my thought. I wrote it down. Maybe I shouldn't say all my thoughts. They made a longtime villain, Richie Incognito, look like not a terrible guy. I mean, the way they kind of showed him was like, they made Richie Incognito, who is like a horrible past, said horrible stuff. The reports and narratives and the ways Richie Incognito has gotten in trouble in the past are like horrifying. You're like, oh, he did that? He said that? What? And then you look and you're like, it seems like this big goofy idiot. Like they really like made Richie Incognito look like a normal dude. I was just like, wow, I've never seen Richie Incognito in such a good light before. I was like, wow, I wonder. I mean, maybe it kind of makes sense. I could see how, his mouth and his jokes and the way he carries himself could get him in trouble. I don't know. It's a different side of Richie Incognito, a side I've never seen before, aside from reports of horrible stuff he's said and done to his former teammates. They made it sound like he's really good. They made it sound like he can play, I guess. I don't know. Now, my other thought, I was watching Hard Knocks, and Derek Carr's, I play quarterback. Derek Carr's warming up. I want that dude's pants. I mean, also, I want that dude's biceps. I wish I had big biceps. I don't. But Derek Carr, the pants he was wearing, I was like, man, those joggers are like sick. They're like, I don't know how, I have a pair like that, and they don't work like that. I was like, those are really cool. I want to get those for practice. Now, in the end, my final thought with all of this is that, first of all, the Raiders are kind of a weird, quirky organization. They have this, once a Raider, always a Raider. They have like an alumni dinner that doesn't happen in the NFL. And John Gruden is very, very happy. I mean, he has a 10-year contract with the Raiders. He's not on the hot seat at all. He's totally comfortable. I think John Gruden's going to be there for years. I think Mark Davis is going to let him do whatever he does and just kind of take his time. But in the end, the episode just kind of ended, like suddenly ended. I was like, oh, that's it. And weirdly enough, I could have watched for like another hour. I was engaged. I was interested, but also at the same time, I realized as the show ended, I was like, that was an hour. Nothing really actually happened. Like, I felt like it was just all set up, and I'm curious to see how the show progresses throughout the season. Like, I hope episode 2 more stuff happens, because I was like, we got introduced to Ronald Ollie. He got cut. We met a lot of people, and I don't know. Like, I just walked away like going like, oh. For some reason, I felt just a bit unsatisfied by episode 1 of Hard Knocks. I don't know if that's because like there was no resolution, right? Like, there was this dinner, and like it felt like we were building to something, and then nothing happened, and I was like, oh. And maybe that's the genius of Jon Gruden. I wrote this down too. Is like there's been all this rumor and speculation that Jon Gruden would use Hard Knocks to kind of manipulate the view of the Raiders and make them look really good, all this kind of stuff. And I mean, maybe Jon Gruden's just a master of the media and knows how to like show his team completely open and still not give away anything. Like, because there was really no real. I mean, Ronald Ali got cut. That's not really drama. That's interesting. I mean, I guess kind of interesting, like Last Chance U, but even like the Antonio Brown injury, we got no insight into that. And like with the Browns last year, it was so clear the Browns were a train wreck and a mess. Even episode 1. And with the Raiders this year, it's like, we just got no information. I was like, oh, everything seems kind of fine, kind of boring. So I don't know. Those are all my thoughts from episode 1 of Hard Knocks. I'm excited for episode 2 next week. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm really curious, but it just was very, it just, nothing really happened. I just was like, wow. I walked away going like, that was an hour? It went so quick. I feel like nothing happened. So we'll see how episode 2 changes things and what happens in episode 2. But those are my thoughts from episode 1 of Hard Knocks. My name is Zach Schaumler. This is my podcast, Strong Opinion Sports. It is my favorite thing in the entire world. And you may not know, my dream when I graduate college eventually is to do this show as my full-time job. Now, I also want to be very upfront and honest about my plan and what's going on. I recently monetized my YouTube channel. What that means is that some of my videos make money through ad revenue. Now, it's fewer than you think. A lot of my videos get claimed. But in the past, I've received donations through the form of PayPal and Patreon.com. PayPal.me/Zach Schaumler, Patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. So because I'm making ad revenue, it felt weird to just get donations. I wanted to give something back to the people who support me on Patreon. So now there's a reward. If you support me on Patreon, you can submit questions at the dollar level or above. You just need to give $1 a month. If you do that, you can submit questions to a pool of questions where I look at. I'll read all the questions on Patreon, and I pick the top couple every episode and read them and answer them on a segment called Ask Zach. I pick the top couple questions and answer them at the end of every single episode. Now, that's for people who want to support me with money. If you have no money to give, I totally understand. I've actually never supported anybody on Patreon. I feel kind of weird about that. I'm a broke college kid myself. I totally understand. But if you believe in me and if you believe in my dream and still want to help me, one thing you can do is help me grow by telling your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. Share it on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whatever it is. Help me grow by telling your friends about Strong Opinion Sports. Guys, thank you so much. I know that was a long spiel. I really appreciate it, and hope you have a great day.